Hi, Paul Watson here. Thank you for coming to my YouTube channel. I'm going to carry on our discussion about modes and how we use them and how you can hear them, get that sound in your head. Last time we looked at how to find them on the neck of the guitar. Essentially what we did was we split up a major scale into 7 parts by starting on the next degree of the scale all the way up to the 7th note in octaves. So we split it up into 7 sections, and we also explained that each one of those modes relates to a chord that is built on each degree of the scale as well. And we're only going to be thinking in triads here really. So I mean, you can think of them as 4-note chords, 7th chords as well, but we're going to be primarily thinking in terms of major, minor, the diminished chord as well. Having said that, it's always worth bearing in mind that the 5th point is dominant 7th. That is a 7th chord. We're only looking at the major modes here, diatonic major chords. So yes, getting the sound of that mode in your head. So we split these up into different sections. So I'm going to we used C major scale for the previous example, but for the sake of making this easier, as you'll see in a minute, I'm going to use a B major scale, because it's, forget about the sharps and the flats, the sharps in this case, but think of the shape and the intervals. So that's our major scale, and from that we can go start that scale on each note like we did before to create the next mode. The question is how can you hear that mode, because it's still just sounding like B major to me, which it will, because your ear is homing in on the B note, because it's the home chord. And this is the point I want to put over today, is that a note on its own is just a note unless it's got something to relate to. It's got no harmony. So, you know, I can play this note and I can play it sounding like an F sharp, which it is. I'll play the same note, but I play it with a D. Now it's a third of D, so things need a home to go to. That's the way your ear works, it's where your brain works, it's the way we feel music, whether we know it or not. Yeah. So anyway, going back to this, so B major scale, and a good way to think about it is, first of all, is just play it up the neck on one string. You know, simple. Went wrong there. Now, we were saying our B major scale, we can get modes from starting the scale in a different point. So let's go up through the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we'll stop at 4. So what was our 4th mode in the series? It was Lydian. So you had Ionian, which is basically the major scale, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian. So that's an E. We're going up the B major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So if we make E our home, we can play this open E string here, and then we'll play the B major scale against E being the home, and then you get this. which is the Lydian sound. If I'm just playing the same thing with B, now it's back to sounding like a B major again. So the point is, the chord or the root of the chord that you're playing against determines the mode. The chords dictate the mode, not the other way around. So that's a good way of thinking this. It's a good way to practice it. If you want to get that Lydian sound in your head, and then you can start singing the mode and get familiar with it, and then you'll know when you hear it, and you know when you're playing it as well. You know when you're going wrong. Yeah, so it's a bit like the famous tune for Lydian is the Simpsons theme. Like a little Led Zeppelin type thing there. The thing to remember about this is, even though we're thinking B major, we need to be homing in on the E, because your E is now kind of your 1 in the mode. Now this kind of technique of looking at this is what they call the parent scale method. So you can relate any of those modes to a parent scale, and that is one way of finding the mode. So if I wanted to play E Lydian and I had a chord sequence that was I could just be thinking, oh hang on, right, E Lydian, well that's the 4 of B major, so I need to be playing B major, because I have to think Lydian is the 4th mode, count backwards, oh it's B, so good. It could work like that. So that's what a lot of guitarists do. And you can do that with any of the modes. Think back, count back to what the parent scale is, and that would still work. I would also recommend, once you get used to hearing modes, thinking of them like that, the other good approach is to actually single them out and learn them as a scale shape in their own right, because then you become familiar with the intervals within the mode, which can be very useful as well. They're both valid, but I think it's probably good to go between the two. By singling that E Lydian out, you can see that has got a sharp 4 now. 1, 2, 3. Oh, hang on, 4's not where it should be. It's upper semitone. But the rest of the scale is exactly the same, so it's like an E major scale, but it's got the sharp 4. Which is the Lydian sound. And the more you familiarise yourself with the different modes and where the notes are different and the sound of it, the easier it is to start hearing those modes and using them in your playing. Modes aren't the be all and end of everything, but they're quite a useful tool, and especially in certain types of music. So having explained the a way of getting the sound in your ear, relate it back to the parent scale. Let's look at a few examples of where that might happen, and because it's all very well knowing, oh okay, yeah, I know that's a Phrygian is on the 3rd degree of the major scale, but yeah, so what? Okay. Right, okay, so let's get some examples going then. So when would you use a Dorian mode, for instance, say? Well, like I said earlier, the chords dictate the mode. So I'm going to try and give you some song examples now of how you would use that and why. So you have to look at the chords and relate that back to the major scale that those chords come out of. If you remember in the first lesson, when Beginner's Guide to Mode, we looked at these chords built on each degree of the scale. So we had a major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, and a diminished, which is the 7th point. You need to know those, so go and practice those if you don't already know them. And when you do know those, you can sort of quickly quite work out. If you've got a song like Evil Ways Santana, where it's going from G minor to C, just keeping this very basic. Now you've got a minor to a major. Now in terms of working out the chords, now we're going to think of this as, okay, that's my 1 chord, and I'm going up a 4th, so that's my 4th chord. So when I see that relationship, 1 minor to a major on the 4, I have to think, okay, well, how does that work then? And then I can work out by thinking from the scale that F is a place where that would occur, because going up from my chords on each degree, you've got major, minor, minor on the 3rd, major, 4th, a major on the 5th. So I've got a major on the 5 and a minor on the 2, which would be in F. That's what it would be, wouldn't it? You'd be a, so you got so if I'm thinking that these chords are coming out of F major scale, that means I can now think, okay, so my G minor here to C is the 2nd degree of the F. So what's the mode on the 2nd degree? Ionian, Dorian. Yeah. So if I play a Dorian mode over this chord progression, which is also F major starting from the 2nd point, it should work. Yeah. All those notes will work. Okay, let's have a look at a couple of other examples here. So let's take an REM song. We'll go back to the key of C, which we did our first lesson in. But Man on the Moon is basically all Lydian. Why is it Lydian? Well, because the chords are going from C to D. Most of the verse is that. G. So I know that in my scale of chords there's only the one place where there are two major chords together like that. If you go up in the chord, just go in, it's going to be in G, this is, because Lydian is the fourth fret. So we go up in G, 1, major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, and diminished. So there's only one place where those two major chords are side by side like that, going up the scale. So Lydian has got to work on that. So you work out that these chords are coming out of the G major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if we relate back now, we know G's our parent scale, and we're going to play Lydian. We can play out of that scale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, thinking about the parent scale, you have to be aware that you want to home in on the root note of your chord that you're playing, because this is the one chord in your progression. It's the 4 chord of your parent scale. Okay. It's all Lydian. Okay, let's have a look at another example. So what happens is you can start thinking, okay, if I see two major chords going from a tone apart, there's a good chance that will be Lydian. If you've got a minor 1 to a 4, there's a good chance that will be Dorian. So you can practice with that. Right, let's just pick another one. You can do this with any of the modes, just by thinking of the parent chord degrees, the scale, parent scale chord degrees. Okay, so if we take a song like the outro of Hey Jude is a good example for this, where a few more chords in this, and you're thinking, well, what's going on here then? So it's going from F to E flat, so it's going down now. We've got two major chords going down, and the B flat back to the F. Well, wherever you see this kind of movement, a major going down a whole tone to another major, it's basically what they call a 1, because we're thinking in the home key of the song now, which is in F, down to a flat 7, chord, which is the major chord below it in the scale, because that would be a 7, and then you've got a flat 7. Whenever you see that, then it's going to be a Mixolydian mode. The reason being, our 1 chord here in our little chord pattern, flat 7. Back to here. This is the 5 chord. Of B flat. So whenever you see that F down a tone, it's going to be Mixolydian mode. So to find that, you've got to go backwards in your scale, or think of 5th. You know Mixolydian is on the 5th degree. Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian. So if you counted backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Our parent scale is going to be B flat. So if you've got these chords now, it's a B flat, and it's going back home to the F. But we start playing. It will all work. It'll work over all of those chords. I'm keeping it simple here in one area, but you can play it all over the neck with that. All modes are relative to the parent scale. It's just a case of knowing what degree you're playing on, and the root of the chord that you're playing on is you need to home on. You don't want to be running up and down the parent scale. Although it would sound okay, it's not honing in on the changes, but your ear will tell you that anyway. But as far as the notes will go, it will work. So I hope you found that interesting, and I hope that wasn't too confusing. If you've got any questions, stick them in the comments below. I'll try and get around to answering them. And yeah, see you next time. Smash that subscribe button. Thanks a lot. Bye.